Hey everyone, this is Seth here at JT Mods. Got the crew with me again this afternoon. Believe it or not, typical Texas weather fashion, I'm not going to get to do an install today like I had planned. Yesterday at lunch it was about 70. By 5 or 6 we were looking at tornado warnings, and then we woke up to snow this morning. So kind of got in the way of my plans, but nonetheless I did want to get set up tonight to kind of show you the install I plan on doing tomorrow. First of all, if you haven't seen my video from last week, or you put the bed cover, the tonneau cover on, check that out. This week we're actually going to be doing a receiver hitch. It's the OEM Mopar receiver hitch on the Rubicon. So your truck may or may not have came with it, mine didn't. Rather than pay the dealership to put it in, I decided to put it in myself. So today I'm just going to walk you through that. All right, so this is the actual part number. For the part, like I mentioned, this is an OEM Mopar part, the trailer hitch. I got it, I think the list price is $265. I actually got it at cost from the dealer, which I think is about $218, pretty good deal. Again, didn't want to pay them the labor to put it in, so I decided to do it myself. But pretty basic what it comes with. It comes with the actual hitch itself that you're going to install. The plug cover that actually plugs when you don't have your trailer ball in, then you can put this in, instructions, and then you've got hardware back here. Quickly over here on the bench, I've got set up the tools that we're going to need for the install. It's pretty simple. We've got a 21 millimeter, 16 millimeter, and a 10 millimeter socket, various ratchets. We've got the 1/2 inch ratchet, 3/8, and the extensions. Going to be a screwdriver, and then this is just really, it's not necessarily needed, but I'm lazy, so if I can take them off faster with that, I'm going to use that. And then the only things I don't have shown are the torque wrenches. So it is important, and I will talk about the torque settings, but if you are going to be obviously towing something, it's important that you get your bolts down to torque, or to torque spec, I'm sorry. But we'll get to that later in the video. All right, so excited. Today's here. Made it through the night with all the excitement, getting ready to start on the install. But before we do, I just want to mention one thing. There is one difference between a Rubicon and the Overland and the Sport. So the one difference is this rail right here, this guard, this rock rail. This is on the Rubicon only, so we are going to have to take off a couple extra bolts to drop that out of the way. Not a big deal. I'll show you when I get under the truck. But the first step that we're going to do is we're going to take off the bumper. There's 2 bolts here to take off the bumper, and then there's going to be multiple bolts underneath that we're going to take off. So I'll switch the video to show you those as I get under the truck. So let's get started. All right, I guess we're going to test my video skills. So the rock rail that we kind of showed you earlier on the corner of the bed, once you get under the truck, you can see quickly here that there are 3 bolts. So first we're going to remove those. But then once you slide in just a little bit further, you can see these 2 bolts here. So these 2 bolts both have to come out. You can see that that's attached to the factory hitch that we're actually replacing. This is the one that just kind of has a bumper mount. You can see it runs along the back side of the bumper here. But these 2 bolts right here are what we're going to remove, and this is going to allow us to remove the bumper. So again, we're going to take out these 3 on the rock rail if you have the Rubicon. And then these 2, and then I'm going to come back shortly and show you there's a wiring harness that we're going to have to just disconnect along the way before we remove the bumper. So I'll show you that shortly. All right, as you can see, I've got the bolts removed from the 2 from there on the rock guard, and the 2 right here that I showed you earlier. Now it's time to undo our harnesses so that we can actually take the bumper off. So this right here is your trailer hitch. I'm sorry, your trailer lights harness. You can actually, there's just a button on the right here. You press that, you can pull it off. And I kind of had already unengaged it, but you can see the button there. It's not that hard to do. That harness runs along here, you can see, along with this one right here. We're gonna have to also unattach that one, which I'll do shortly, but we're gonna need to take our trim remover tool, looks like this, and actually take these buttons off of the actual trailer hitch so that we can uninstall the harness, and then we'll reinstall it on the new part. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that so that we can pull the bumper off. All right, now you can see that we've got both of the wiring harnesses completely unhooked. I'm gonna quickly show you, we also have the pins removed so that they're not connected to anything that we're gonna be pulling off here shortly. So you can see up there, this one now is completely free up to the frame. And then this one here is connected to the bumper. So we pulled that pin that you can see there out. So when we remove the bumper, it'll come free. So now we're gonna get up. We're gonna remove these two bolts right here on the back of the bumper. And then that should allow us to just remove the bumper freely and then get to the hitch part that we need to remove or replace. All right, folks, this is why we make the video, so you can learn from my mistakes. There's actually two more torque screws here that actually do need to be removed. You can see it right here. There's one there and one there. And just for a reference, so here's a spare tire. This is pretty much centered. This is where the hitch will go. So this is in the center, in the back of your bumper. And the reason for that, again, this is because it's the Rubicon bumper. So you've got these two additional attach points. So after we remove this, I've already removed the two bolts in the back of the bumper. Then we should be removing the bumper. All right, as you can see, I removed the last two torque screws. The bumper is free now. One thing I do want to point out is what I noticed is there actually is another harness on this side. Both harnesses go for the license plate lights. The removal is the same on each side. It's pretty easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the bumper off now. Comes off pretty easy. Just set it to the side. And then now we're gonna work on actually removing the factory hitch, replacing it with the tow hitch. So we'll jump into how to do that here shortly. All right, so now that we've got this removed, one thing I want to point out is the tow hooks. Obviously with the Rubicon, you've got two. On the Overland and the Sport, you'll just have one. Either way, we're gonna get this off and we'll take the tow hooks out and we'll put them on the new hitch on the table. So we're not gonna worry about that. But essentially to get this off, there's 5 bolts, 5 on each side. The first two that you'll see are these two here. There are 2 underneath, which we're gonna take a quick shot of. So those first 4, you use your 21mm socket for those. And then this last one here, actually you've got it running here, coming through this side through a threaded bolt, but you'll take it out from this side, right here. And that's gonna be an 18mm. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all 5 of those bolts out on both sides and actually set up jack stands if you're doing this by yourself so that it doesn't fall on you. I'm gonna take out probably 4 of the 5 on each side, get the jack stands in place, and then take the last one off. Obviously, it's better if you have somebody that can help you, that can hold it when you take the last 2 bolts, but if not, you can do it by yourself. So we're gonna get that done. All right, as you can see, we've got the mount completely removed. We've got it over here on the table. So what we have left to do is to remove the hooks here and place them on the new hitch. And then also these clips. So these clips have to be transferred over to the new hitch. Pretty straightforward, full transparency. The one thing I would recommend if I was doing this is, again, probably was to probably go ahead and remove the hooks while this is mounted so you have more leverage. Nonetheless, I should be able to get them off of there and get them onto the new one. So I'm gonna do that now. All right, so as you can see, we've got the mount, we've got it pinned in. I just kind of wanted to share with you, I was gonna use jack stands. I like to try to keep everybody in mind that's at home doing this in their garage like me. You don't always have an extra set of hands. So as you can see, my jack stands weren't tall enough. Now I could have built them up, put something under them, got them tall enough. But I was a little bit lazy. I did get my wife to help me. So lifted it up, pinned each side. Now I've got all of the bolts in started. Just got to tighten them down. And then really just snap the wiring harnesses back in, put the bumper back on. So I'm not going to bore you and walk you through each step of putting it back together. It's the same as the way it came apart. But I did just kind of want to show you that getting it back in with jack stands is an option, but it's not as easy as I thought it would be. So with that, we're gonna tighten it down, and then the next look I'll give you will just be the final look to where you can actually see the hitch. So. All right, so I said the next shot would actually be the end, but I realized this actually is really important. So because your tow hitch is going to be used for towing, it is important that you torque it to the correct specs. So all of the mounting point specs, including the hooks, are all 165 Newton meters. I like foot per pound, so that kind of equates to about 122 foot per pound. So I am gonna actually torque all these down. I'm not gonna video them all, but I do want to encourage you, if you do this install yourself, to take the time to actually torque them down to spec. Again, you're gonna be towing something with this. It is important. So it's not always, in my opinion, there are some things that's not as important, but in this case, I think it is important. So I did want to mention that and show you that I'm actually doing that. So that's the main thing I want to share with you before we get done. All right, as you can see, we got it all buttoned back up. Everything's good to go. Jeep even sends you a little plug here for the hitch. Kind of neat. I would just say overall, kit was great, easy to put on, came with everything you needed. I have one complaint I'm going to show you real quick on the table, and it may just be for the Rubicon based on the Rubicon bumper, but at the bottom of the bumper there are 2 torque screws, and the factory had the riveted nuts in here. The OEM replacement trailer hitch did not. So I'm pretty picky, so I'll probably take my bumper back off and actually put these in. But at the end of the day, it's really not that big a deal, I don't think. So with that, I will say thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe. We'll have new videos coming soon. And last but not least, if you heard any squealing during my video, I apologize, but these little monsters have to be involved and have to be part of everything. So with that, again, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed.